So most of us are walking around like this, totally ignoring one of the most important things in our world, which is cash flow. Cash flow in our home life is one of those things we don't want to talk about, mainly because as soon as I say cash flow, what are you thinking? Budget. I don't want to do a budget. I don't want to look at a budget. I don't even know where to start with a budget. I don't want to do it. Right? Now, we all walk through life like this a lot of the times because we're not paying attention to what we're spending our money on. Now, would you say that somebody who is in control of their finances walks around like this? No, you're going to walk into a wall eventually, right? I mean, we kind of do this now because we're on our phones. So there's all those cartoons out there, people falling into holes because they're on their phones. That's kind of what we're doing with our finances, right? With our cash flow. Now, let me tell you why this is so important. I have a client, she makes a really nice living, way over six figures, high six figures. And she's always been okay in terms of cash flow. I mean, she's always been able to save some and been able to live within her means. I have some clients that make, 25 grand a month and they spend 26 grand a month though. So that's not always the case. But this client actually lives within her means. And so she's been able to save pretty well. I mean, probably could have saved a little bit more given her cash or giving her income, but that's okay. She's hitting her goals. She's on track. She's good. Now, she wants to retire at the end of the year. And I had to have the dreaded budget talk or cash flow talk, right? How can I help you know if you're ready for retirement if we don't really know what you're spending? And she sits back, and we've had this conversation for years. She's been a client of mine for almost a decade now. And she sat back and she looked at me and she goes, I just don't know where to start with that. Okay, so I'm going to give you a very quick tutorial of how to start. And then come see me if you want some more details, but want to keep it quick. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at how much you bring into the house. The cash flow is in and out, right? So you want the in. Now, don't take your salary of $200,000 a year and divide that by 12 and say that's what you bring in, because it's not what you bring in. I want the net. I want how much is actually landing in your bank account after you pay health insurance, your 401k contributions, your HSA contributions, all of that stuff. I want that out. Isn't that nice? It's one thing you don't have to deal with, right? You don't need to know about that stuff because that's not part of your cash flow right now. Okay. Now, that will be part of your cash flow in retirement if you're retiring, before Medicare and stuff, but we'll go into that a different time. Now, in terms of how do you tackle the expenses part, because that's the part nobody wants to do. I always say you take your credit card statement or your bank statement, you should look at both, and you take the last 3 months. So this is in January into January. So you would look at October, November, December. Now, some people would say December is really high because you've got, holiday expense. I don't care. That's a great month to take a look at because you kind of want to have a higher amount on your expenses side than a lower amount, right? Kind of want to know how you are at your worst rather than you are at your best. It's like stepping onto the scale for the first time, seeing where you're at your height, and you're just going to go down from there and you'll be happy. Okay. So take a look at October, November, and December, and you're going to categorize them into 4 categories. Living, it should be pretty obvious what goes under living expenses. Savings, not 401k savings because that already went out. So other savings vehicles. Obligations, that includes anywhere from debt repayment to things that you are non-negotiables for you. Maybe your favorite charity, maybe you're giving to your mom, things that are non-negotiables for you go into that. And then other. Okay, other could be whatever doesn't fit into those other 3 categories. So you categorize your expenses, add them up, add the 4 up, and then you've got your expenses. All right. Now you'll do one for each and every month, and then you'll kind of average them together to see what that looks like. And that will give you an overall budget. Now, it's just like everything else. Cash flow changes from month to month, just like your planning. I will say to clients all the time, your plan is as good as it is the moment that I input the data. Okay, because we don't know what's going to happen. So it is a good idea to kind of keep an idea or tabs on it, kind of be aware of when you're spending a little bit more than you think you would be spending. And that really can just be done by taking a look at your credit card expenses and your bank accounts. Once a month, at least, just kind of noticing where you're spending, watch your patterns. Patterns are very important when it comes to finance. So that's a very, very quick tutorial about how to put together the dreaded budget or cash flow for your family business, which is your family household. And if you have any questions or need any help, give me a call. I'm happy to help. One Vision Retirement, your retirement in 2020 vision.